Greetings, neighbors. Welcome to yet another episode of the Perfect Sense podcast. We are still celebrating America Saves Week and really excited today to focus our discussion on the topic of spending smarter, really establishing and practicing good spending habits. So we're going to have a very insightful discussion, and I am very thrilled to welcome my colleague, Marcie Johnson, who is just a professional expert in every sense of the word. So, Marcie, would you mind just telling our audience a little bit about who you are and what you do here at Safe?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everybody. I am Marcie Johnson, like Alex said. I am the Debit and Credit Program Manager here at Safe Credit Union, and I have actually been here for 16 years. Started in contact center, went to the branch, and then started out in cards as a dispute rep and just kind of worked my way up. So 16 years flies by, Alex.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, like, when I was talking to Lawrence, I just hit 12 years back in January, and it really doesn't feel like it, right? And I feel like, especially as, like, we're both parents of young kids, it's strange to see them, like, get bigger and bigger, and I'm like, I don't feel any older. So what is going on here?
I know. But then they get older, and then you're like, oh, wait, I am old.
Yeah, seeing her picture and stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Let's dive into this conversation, right? We're celebrating America Saves Week. Our focus today is really about spending, and we kind of got to lay the foundation, right? Like, really, when we talk about any sort of financial education topic, there are building blocks that help us to be successful when it comes to managing our personal finances. So when we speak about spending specifically, why is smart spending really the foundation of financial wellness?
Yeah, Alex. So smart spending, in my opinion, is important for building your financial wellness because, I mean, everybody's spending every single day. We got to spend to survive.
Sure.
You got your basics that you got to buy for, but then there's the extra bit of stuff that you have to spend. So it's just really taking what you are spending your money on and really having a purpose for it. So do you really need this right now, or is it something that you should think about and purchase later, or is it something you should save for? And then there's also the consideration of, do you put it on a credit card or do you put it on a debit card? Because if it's a bigger purchase that you're wanting to make, but it's not a necessity that you need, is it something that you wait until you build up that savings to spend on, or do you put it on the credit card and make a plan for yourself to pay that off eventually? So I think it really could set you up for success if you're being more intentional with how you're using your cards, whether it's your debit or your credit card.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think mindfulness, right? Like, people don't generally think of mindfulness and money behaviors in the same thought, but it really is such a crucial element. And I think that that's one of the main things that it kind of comes down to. You mentioned, differentiating between a want versus a need. And a lot of these things to most people sound like probably common sense. They may have heard versions of this sentiment before, but because I work in this space of financial education, I find that, really all of us need persistent reminders. You got to stay on top of things. If you want to be successful, you sort of need that echo to keep repeating itself for you to really, like, create a positive behavior out of that. So when we talk about, like, categorizing spending, which I think is a key component of this, what would you say are, like, the 3 spending categories or spending zones?
Yeah. So, 3 different spending zones. You've got your essential spend, which is going to be, your gas, your groceries. You've got flexible spend. So, let's, in my house, we don't need, I'm sorry, we would like to replace our couch. I would consider that more of a flexible spend. And then there's the emergency situations where maybe you got to take your animal to the vet or something like that. Those are unexpected things that you got to plan for. So I think those are really the 3 crucial areas for spending.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, like, you and I are in a funny position where we have younger kids in our house. And so a lot of these things are coming up over and over again. Like, my 6-year-old, he has his first checking account with a debit card and he's always wanting to go out and spend. I'm like, buddy, you are in savings mode right now. Like, we are going to build that up so that really when you want something, you can, get the thing that you want that's maybe a little bit out of your reach right now. And so that's really great. Really also touching on the unexpected piece, right? For those of us that are out here adulting on a week to week, month by month basis, we know what that feels like when there is an unexpected expense. And I think part of it is planning for those unexpected things to happen. But to the point about spending, part of it is also like having a strategy for what happens when those what ifs take place. So I think that's really crucial. And like, to go back to the behavioral element of this, right? How can people take an approach to spending smarter? How can they be more aware of the spending that they're doing?
Um, I think people could be more aware to the spending that they're doing by, going back to what I said before, being more mindful of how you're using your card. I think we've hit a point where you have a card that you're carrying around rather than cash. A lot of people don't use cash nowadays. They use a card and it's easy to do, but it's also easy, in my opinion, to forget how much you have in your bank account and it's easier to overspend. So just being more mindful of what you're purchasing, how much you're buying, do you actually need that? I think is a big proponent in figuring that out and navigating.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that especially in this age of like convenience and the internet, it seems like every 5 or so years, spending becomes easier, right? Like, first you had to swipe your card. And then they implemented the chips in the card. So it was like, oh, this is better. It's more secure. And then I feel like there's sort of been in tandem a development where it's like, oh, you can just have your payment information on your smartphone, or with the tap cards. It like takes no thought at all to just tap, spend, and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, even with your going to your phone, you've got Apple Pay and Google Pay now too. So it's like not even pulling out your card from your wallet. You just get to, so it's so easy. Spending has become so easy, but it's still reminding yourself to be mindful about what you're purchasing and how you're spending your money, because it is very easy to overspend when you're not pulling out the cash. Like if I have cash and I have to spend cash and I only have $20, I'm going to be more mindfully shopping because I'm like, okay, I've only got $20 to spend, so I got to keep it under 20. If you're using your card though, it's a lot easier to overspend. So just reminding yourself to be mindful of what you're purchasing and what you're actually getting.
Yeah. And to that point, like, I think in the name of convenience and in the name of like technological advancements, would you say that there's like certain ways that people can strategize to make those tools work for them? Like, obviously being able to access your banking online and check your account balances, those things are really helpful. But is there a way that folks can kind of like integrate the behavior they're trying to establish by also reinforcing that behavior with like certain tools that they can implement?
Yeah, actually, I think that's a great question, Alex, about using tools. We do have our online banking. We have the app, which makes it really easy and convenient if you have a cell phone, which a lot of people do, to pull up the app. Within our online banking, what a lot of people don't realize is we do have card alerts as well. So you can set up card alerts for your debit or your credit card to tell you, to send you a message if you spend over a certain dollar amount or if you have a certain amount in your bank account. Just to kind of give you those alerts so that you can be a little bit more mindful of how much money you have.
Yeah, and I think it's probably also worth mentioning that, whether or not you bank at Safe Credit Union, it's highly likely that your existing financial institution maybe has versions of these tools that you can implement. So I always encourage folks when I'm doing a workshop, like, take 10 minutes out of your day and really dive into your mobile banking and see what's in there that will help you be more successful. And if you find that there's a tool that you would like to have that's not there, that's when you start to ask yourself the question of like, well, do I have the right banking relationship? Am I getting out of this what I need to? So I really appreciate you kind of expanding on what we do here at Safe, because I find that when I think of just the credit union ecosystem, I think that's one way which Safe kind of differentiates itself, is by having such like intuitive technological features that are just accessible, right? 24/7 in your mobile app or on your online banking.
Yeah. I think we do try. We try our best to make sure that we can support and at least stay up with the technological side of how things are progressing.
Yeah.
So I think we do a pretty good job, but I
Yeah.
may be biased.
So Yeah, no, that's absolutely like it's funny because obviously I've been doing the podcast for a while, so when I leave my house, I kind of feel like I'm always wearing the safe brand. But I think it's also valuable for us to kind of tell people what a success story might look like. So do you have any examples or maybe like testimonials of what a success story looks like where somebody maybe was struggling with spending behaviors and through the right support, through the right access to tools and resources, they were able to really, again, establish that positive behavior.
Yeah, I don't have a specific success story, but in general, I know for me specifically, what tools that I like to use a lot is just looking at the history in my online banking. Where am I spending my money at? Am I signed up for any subscriptions or anything that maybe I don't use? Actually, last month, my husband and I were looking and we noticed we were enrolled in Paramount Plus, and we don't even watch anything on Paramount Plus anymore. So that was just something small that, I mean, what is it, like $15 per month? But it's still, that's an extra $15 now in my bank account that I was able to get rid of. So I think it's just being mindful, going into online banking, looking over your transactions. If you can't do it weekly, maybe cycle it along with our statement cycle. Take a look at your statement, really dive in there and see what are you using your money on, and being more mindful on what you're spending, and what apps, what subscriptions are you signed up for that
Yeah.
maybe you're not using or you don't intend on using, that you can just eliminate.
Yeah. And like one thing that comes up over and over again on this show is the idea of goals, right? Like having a financial goal in mind, something that you're working towards. And I think that's where we can kind of encourage people to like, when you think about your budget, let's break it down to the simplest form, right? It's income versus expenses. You might not realize if you don't do some self reflection and look in detail, like, when's the last time you looked at an entire bank statement for a month, right? And can you identify what's your income look like? Is it consistent? Does it fluctuate? Does it always come at the same time? What of your expenses are actually necessities and where might we have like potential spending gaps? And I think subscription services is a great example because it's just so locked into like how we do life now. Like people aren't really paying for cable. They've got their Hulu Disney package or their Paramount Plus or anything like that. And oftentimes, it's even worth just asking yourself, like, if I have 3 or 4 subscriptions, am I using them all equally? Am I getting the same value out of them? Is it worthwhile for me to maybe pause it for like a couple months and then come back to it when Netflix has finally updated their catalog, right? So I think those are really valuable. I think a moment ago, or actually like we mentioned earlier on, this idea of like even gym memberships. Like you got really excited at the beginning of the year, you enrolled in a gym membership. Now it's March or April and you're not really using it. So really kind of getting people to self-reflect and say like, if I'm going to set a financial goal, what is my starting point? How do I understand where I'm at now? And how does that impact how I'm trying to get where I'm going?
Yeah, I agree. And really looking at, in regards to the gym membership, how frequently are you going and how much are you paying per month? Because maybe you could be putting that aside in savings and you could build up enough to buy a treadmill or something like that. So setting up goals as well while you look at that to see, okay, do I need to go to the gym? Is that something that I am actually doing? Am I getting the value for what I'm paying for? Or would I be benefiting to put that into savings instead?
Yeah.
And determine a plan for having a home gym.
Yeah, and I think that even goes further into like how we serve our members and how we kind of like create experiences where you're telling people like make your money work for you, make it do more for you so you can live the life that you want to live outside of like whatever constraints you might perceive there to be. So that's really fantastic. I think before we wrap up, I'd love to get your insights on maybe like what's one action that our listeners could take to kind of set themselves up for success. So maybe in the next week or so, what's something they can do that'll set them on that trajectory?
Yeah, I think the best action members could take to help with their finances and their spend would be really to take a look at their statement. What are you spending your money on? And this may be broader than just looking at your safe statement because people have credit cards too. Pull in anywhere that you're spending. Make sure you're not spending more than you're making, because if you are, that's a problem
Yeah.
that you want to resolve. How much are you spending on those areas of the essential spending area, and what areas are more flexible areas that you're spending on that maybe you can pull back. If you're spending a lot on flexible stuff, that's an area that you can pull back in. And I mean, this may be even more, but really setting goals for how much you want to spend per month in those different areas. If you know generally how much you have to spend on the essentials, uh, looking at your flexible spend and determining, you know, this month I'm going to set a $200 goal for myself and I'm not going to go over $200 on my flexible. So I think that would be a big thing. If anything else, I think that's a big thing. Put a limit on your flexible spending. See if you can meet that. And if you can't, maybe reevaluate and see why you didn't make it. Do you need to increase it? Do you need to decrease it? But definitely don't be spending more than you make. So
Absolutely. And as an addendum to that, right? Because you mentioned early on how like it's just sort of how we get by, right? And obviously we're in the financial industry, so these things are top of mind for us day in and day out. Most folks are just trying to get by. They're living their life, they're going to work, maybe taking care of a family. And so what I might add on to some of those things you suggested is when it comes to impulse spending, right? There are any number of things that might entice you to make a purchase, whether it's one-click spending on Amazon or you went to Target and bathing suits are 30% off, right? Like if you didn't have the intention of spending that money when you woke up today, challenge yourself to fight that impulse, to fight that temptation, and kind of give yourself guidelines and structure to follow through on that. You mentioned having a savings goal. Like, can you identify 5 days over the next 30 days of the month to not spend any money? Can I have a no spend day? Can I wake up with the intention of, nope, I'm not swiping my debit card. I'm not stopping by the ATM. Hopefully, I'm not spending on credit for things that, again, don't qualify for like something I need at this moment. So I think that's all really valuable. So thank you so much. And before we wrap up, there's two things I want to ask you. So the first one is just to kind of make this personal. What is a financial goal that you or your family are prioritizing at the moment?
Um, I think our biggest financial goal is to cut back on that additional flexible spending. I think we have, especially my kids, have a tendency to impulse buy things sometimes. So just being more mindful. I will say, on just kind of one of the things we just actually did this weekend is my kids love Five and Below. And I have actually made it a point to tell them that I don't spend my money at Five and Below for them anymore. They have to bring their own money. So I think pushing that on to them too, to be also a little bit more mindful of what
Yeah.
they're spending. We showed up there, they each had $10 and they had to stay under $10.
Totally.
So even though that was letting them do a little bit of the flexible spend, just making sure they're mindful of that flexible spend too.
No, that's such a good example. And I think like, especially with the tiny humans, like I, there's this spot around here that's called the Cave, and it's sort of like an eclectic mix of like CDs and comic books and just a lot of really fun stuff. And so my kids and I will go there every once in a while, and I've really established like, okay, you've got a $10 budget. So if you can find something at or below $10, I'm not going to criticize you for spending that money, but it's great because we have these opportunities to like constantly reinforce like smart spending with them and kind of show what is the value of a dollar, right? Like somebody had to work to make this dollar. So you kind of want to cherish it and have a healthy relationship with it so you can help it grow over time. So thank you for providing that example. And the last thing I'll mention is, well, obviously we're local to the Sacramento area. So I'm curious, do you have like a favorite local small business or restaurant that you like to go to?
Um, I mean, me and my husband every year for the last 17 years for Valentine's Day go to Thai Basil. We actually love Thai Basil. I don't know. There's one in Roseville. They changed their menu a little bit, but we're still able to get the same thing that we got 17 years ago on our first Valentine's. So
That's
we just go there
amazing.
every single year. I love it.
No, great call out. Great call out. I feel like, yeah, Thai basil. I'm glad you reminded me of that because that's somewhere I haven't been in probably years now. So you might be influencing what I have for dinner this evening. So
And then small plug, I know we talked about it at the beginning, but my kids go to Rockland Community Theater. We absolutely love Rockland Community Theater. You want a place that gives back to the community. I think that's a really good small business, but they're a nonprofit that really puts back into the community and teaches kids how to get out of their shell.
that's a great tie-in back to the credit union ethos, right? As a not-for-profit institution, we're all about giving back to our local community. So I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us, Marcie. This has been a fantastic conversation, and I look forward to welcoming you back in the future.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
If you'd like to learn more about SAFE products and services and how we can help you, visit our website at safecu.org and schedule an appointment with one of our professional experts today. SAFE is federally insured by NCUA and is an equal housing opportunity lender. The purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform on topics surrounding financial well-being. This podcast does not constitute financial, tax, or legal advice and may not apply to your individual situation. You should consult with your own financial, tax, or legal advisor for specific information pertaining to your individual situation. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the participants expressing them and do not necessarily reflect those of Safe Credit Union or any of its officials.